We are talking breath work and the power of feeling your emotions. My guest today is MJ Renshaw. She is a breathwork facilitator, podcast host, author, and the founder of The Being Method, a science backed spiritual education platform that teaches students to heal and reconnect with their bodies through breathwork. Her new book, How to Cry, explores the powerful science behind the emotional release of crying. This is an amazing episode. MJ has been through a lot in her life and really found the incredible power of feeling her emotions after not for a long period of time and having a lot of health issues as a result. And so I'm sure this will resonate with a lot of you. I'm sure I'll be sending a lot of people this episode because, as I say in the episode, breath work and the resulting processing of emotion has become one of the most powerful tools that I use in my coaching. I'm not a facilitator, but I refer my clients out like crazy and pretty much anybody I know and love. And it has been a huge part of my own healing journey. So I hope you guys enjoy. Here is MJ Renshaw. This episode is brought to you by Peluva. So Peluva, Peluva, those are Mark Sisson's new zero drop minimalist shoe with that distinctive 5-toe design. I have been loving them. I've been a longtime fan of barefoot shoes, and I was very resistant to the little 5-toe articulation personally at first, because just being real, I thought they looked really nerdy, and I was like, oh man, yeah, I love Mark so much and I get what he's doing, but I'm not wearing those nerdy shoes. And then Brad Kearns, who's also involved with that project, was like, no, Tara, you got to try them. Tara, you got to try them. Tara, just come on, try them. And I tried them, and I kid you not, I enjoy them so much that I actually like how they look now. Weirdly, I can tell. So like the purpose of that 5-toe articulation is so that your toes can move more dynamically. So with other barefoot shoes, like I've been a long time fan of Vivos, and I'm still a big fan of Vivos, but they have just that big toe box, right? Which is awesome. So I didn't really feel like the 5-toe articulation was necessary, to be honest. But as I've worn them, I have experienced how awesome that is. It was actually been quite surprising for me. And I wore them this morning. I wear them all the time, and I'm really, really enjoying that freedom of movement on my toes. So, yeah, Brad and I have been going back and forth. I'm like, dude, I actually love them. And he offered to sponsor the podcast with Peluva and also offer you guys a 15% off code, which I was like, okay, cool. Yeah, I will gladly introduce my people to Peluva shoes. So you can use code Coach Tara at peluva.com, or you can just go to peluva, peluva.com /Coach Tara, and you can get that 15% off discount. Make sure you snag some of the socks while you're there, because you're going to need the toe socks. Okay. All right, let's get into the episode. All right, MJ, thank you so much for coming on and sharing with us today about breath work and emotions and your story. I'm
Thank you
excited.
for having me.
Yeah. Okay. So I mentioned before the show, but I'll tell everybody else, like breath work, as in conscious connected breath work or transformational breath work or holotropic breath work, these healing breath work sessions that you usually go in a group or you can do one-on-one, have become an absolute critical tool in my coaching. I'm not certified in breath work myself. I just send people to practitioners, but it's just like, it's gotten to the point where I just don't feel like I can get to where I want to go any other way, because you cannot mentally and like talk your way to healing. You have to feel things, which obviously you are aware of because of what you do. And you even
You
wrote a
guys
book.
can't see this, but I'm nodding like aggressively.
You literally wrote a book called How to Cry, which we're going to talk about. But and also, you have your Being Method, and all of your work is centered around breath work and feeling our emotions. And so, before we get into all the nitty gritty of that, can you share what brought you into even doing this professionally?
So I was that person with tons of trauma, tons of chronic health issues. When I had repeated sexual abuse starting at the age of 4.
Me too.
Ugh, I'm sorry. Sucks. It's a long healing process, something like that. And it also like ruins one of the best things in the world, which is sex
Mhm.
and orgasms.
Until you
Um,
heal, though, then you find yourself again. But yeah, no, in
yes, but like
marriage,
it
like,
took a while.
yep.
And I grew up in, a home very tumultuous, like a father with addiction, lots of abuse, domestic abuse. My big brother ended up dying in a sudden accident, and then my dad relapsed and committed suicide. And this was all before I was 22. And I
Sorry.
completely shut down.
Yeah.
Like it's actually a miracle that I ended up like somehow at university and like around good people. Um, but that is all just to say that it was my own healing journey. I had a lot of
Mhm.
stuff happen to me, a lot of emotional suppression. I wasn't feeling my grief. I wasn't feeling my sadness. When I started my healing journey, it was very cerebral.
Yeah.
Lots of reading the books, how-to book, a
Right.
quote on Instagram. I can talk about it, but I wasn't really walking it. Like I wasn't
Right.
feeling anything yet. And that's where breathwork came in, was like that hidden piece for me where it
Mhm.
got me out of my freaking mind and just into my body. And such a critical piece because trauma is pre-verbal or nonverbal. So we cannot access the healing state of healing trauma typically by just talking about it and thinking about it. That could help you process some things like putting it together, thinking about the other person's point of view. Like, I'm not saying that it's not useful. I love therapy. I've been in therapy on and off since I was 15.
Mhm.
But if you want to really get into your cells, your fascia, the water in your body, and like let some SHIT go, you
Mhm.
kind of got to get into your body. And, breathwork's not the only way to do it. It is just a fantastic way to do it because you don't have to fly to Peru and take ayahuasca. You don't have to go into a therapist's office and do EMDR or all these complicated things. Like it really is just a very accessible path to finding immense healing. And it doesn't even need to be transformational breathwork or holotropic breathwork or those more intense sympathetic styles. Those are incredible. It doesn't even need to be that. Like there are people who have intense healing breakthroughs from doing breath retention.
Mhm.
So there's so many avenues you can go. I meet
Mhm.
so many people sometimes that are like, I did the breath work, it was too intense for me. And I'm like, great, you can try a different kind because there's like a
Yeah.
million different breathwork techniques. But essentially, all they are inhale, exhale, hold on empty, hold on full, or using your alternate nostrils. Like there's only so many
Mhm.
combinations you can do of the physiology. And once you find one
Mhm.
that works for you and kind of meets you where you're at with your story, your nervous system, it's so magical.
Yeah. Yeah, since you mentioned ayahuasca, so my introduction to this type of breath work was at a ayahuasca retreat in Costa Rica back in 2018. And the way they did their, framework or whatever is you had a night of this breath work, and then you had 4 nights in a row of ayahuasca, and then you had 2 more nights of the breath work. And when I left that, I just always kept saying, I'm like, I think I got a lot more healing out of the breath work than I did the ayahuasca. Like there were definitely some healing things that happened, but I'm a definitely plant medicine psychonaut explorer, and there's many reasons I don't recommend those to clients. First of all, you got all the legal issues, and you have all the like are they on SSRIs, or like are they going to have freak out and then they can't, are you going to find the
Yeah, of
right
course.
facilitator? And then I'm recommending things that are illegal unless they fly to some other country, and it's just this whole thing, right? But
Yeah.
that's more logistical. It's on the actual healing path. Like, this is what I tell people. I'm like, when you're doing plant medicines, you might process some of your emotional stuff that you need to process. That totally can happen. But you also might be like flying around in space on a eagle's back, visiting other planets, and like, seeing like ancient, Egyptian scenes, and like who knows, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's kind of a mixed bag. Whereas like, okay, what's your purpose? Like, why are you even doing the plant medicines? You're most likely trying to like heal and get past some blocks and all of this stuff. And to me, breath work always does that. It always, like, I've never done a breath work session. I've never had a client, unless they can't break through at first, which maybe we can talk about, because I've
Mhm.
seen that as like, that
Mhm.
fear of letting go. It's like they
Of
don't
course,
really get
yeah.
much at first. But once they do break through, like it's always like I just felt all these, I just cried. I call it my necessary pity party. That's what
Yeah,
it's like a lot
yes.
like having compassion for yourself. Like that was really hard what I went through. And I'm finally gonna cry and feel for myself how hard that was instead of just strong arming my way through it and blah blah blah, so it's like a
Mhm.
necessary like pity party is what I call
Yeah.
it, like a
No,
healthy
I
pity
love
party.
that. I schedule my crying meetings. And when I start to feel a little bit tense in life or I've got some like stress or agitation, my first place I go to is feeling my emotions. It's not trying to relax. Because
Right.
sometimes it's just you're holding so much in. And
Right.
we know we have the science to show like when you cry, when you let yourself cry, you reduce your cortisol greatly, among a plethora of other great things for our health. So it's counterculture, right? We've got the science that's showing us feeling your emotions is good. It's good for your health. I mean, it's insane to me that we have people in the biohacking world who are going to spend 10 grand on this and 20 grand on that, but they won't let themselves feel their emotions. And
Right.
I'm like, have you looked at the studies?
Right.
Like, save yourself some money and start feeling your emotions. Because emotional suppression, we know now, psychoneural immunology, it's linking it to cancer, it's linking it to a 35% reduction in lifespan, it's linking it to heart disease, chronic inflammation, autoimmune disease, suicide, mental health issues, and now
Mhm.
I'm just naming all the top
Mhm.
mortality like killers in the US, right?
Mhm.
Besides accidents.
Mhm.
And overdoses are counted in that. So,
Yeah.
um,
Okay, let me ask you this, especially because I mean, not only did you have like the sexual abuse and the, tumultuous household and dad had mental health issues and addictions and all that stuff, but like especially because you also had like the physical abuse side of things. I'm really curious on this because like that generally results in a child suppressing so hard because like they literally have no other choice. They have to survive
mhm.
this
Yes.
environment and it starts to just happen unconsciously, like it's just like I can't
Mhm.
feel anything, right? And so like, you know, I guess my question is like when you started breath work, for example, like, I know the terror, the extreme fear, the
Mhm.
extreme anxiety that can be present in someone when, like, they kinda know they're suppressing a lot and they know and also because you're a highly sensitive person, which makes it, like,
I
10x
know where you're going with this. I know
right?
exactly
And
why,
so it's
'cause
like
it's
those
still something I work on. It's not like I had one breathwork session, all of a sudden I
right.
was like, my heart cracked wide open and I can feel everything. Like I still dissociate, I still shut down. I'm still working against those patterns that were so ingrained into my
Right.
nervous system since I was a kid.
Mhm.
But what I will say to anybody else is first, this fact really helped me. When you go to feel an emotion, you're likely probably only going to feel it for 90 seconds. It doesn't mean you're never going to feel it again. We are humans.
Yeah.
We are designed to feel the full emotional scale of life, and that's called living. If you want to feel joy and love and ecstasy, you're going to have to feel grief and sadness and fear. They come together. So that really helped me just understanding like this won't be forever. It's not going to break me. And then another thing is the first step isn't to go to a breathwork class where someone's going to yell at you to keep going and like kind of put you
Mm.
into a weird nervous system state of like, I don't know if this is safe. The first step is to cultivate safety. When your body feels safe, it will start to process things on its own. So you're not broken and there's nothing wrong with you. And if it's not coming, just give it time.
Mhm.
You have to look at your life as this whole expansive, unified experience. So we can't be working a 9 to 5 that we're not, aligned with, in a relationship where we don't feel safe, surrounded by people we don't feel comfortable with, and then expect an
Mhm.
insanely magical healing experience in a 30-minute breath work. Like you can, but you might not. It's like, look
Mhm.
at everything, cultivate a life of safety.
Mm.
And then your nervous system will settle into letting things go. But you
Mm.
do also have to make time for it to let it go.
Yeah. Let's talk about facilitation because I'm sure this is, this is your world, so it probably comes up a lot. But even just me, like I was in Mexico City on a tour. I was just,
Mhm.
touristy thing. And somehow I cannot remember how breathwork came up. I don't know. But I was talking to this couple and this woman, like, the wife and I were just kind of walking together. And she's like, I did that breathwork thing once and it was horrible. And I was like, oh, tell me about it. And she was like, well, first of all, it was my husband's friend that recommended it, and he's kind of crazy. And then, like, I don't know what happened to my hands, but like they were like clawing up, and I'm like, dude, they didn't tell her
Yeah.
about the
This is my nightmare.
tetany, and like, and so she's like, so then I thought I was dying, and I thought, well, this guy's crazy, and he's suicidal a lot, and so like maybe this does kill you, and
Yep.
that's why he likes it. Like she just started spiraling, right?
Yeah.
And so of course, she got nothing out of it. She's like, I'm never doing that again. And I'm like, oh, I'm like, okay, so what you experienced was something called tetany. And I'm just sitting there, like, kind of mad. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, what? And actually heard this multiple times now, and I'm sure you have too. It's not just that, like, not preparing people for like what you might expect. And we can explain a little better what tetany is and all that stuff. But it's also like the whole like the facilitator themselves and the energy they give off and the setting that they make. Like it's so critical that the facilitator create safety for someone to even if they are creating a life of safety once they get in there to feel safe. So can you speak on that since this is, you're training people?
I'm passionate about it.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, I think it's just sucks, but it's something that happens in every single industry.
Yeah, for sure.
Like you even if it's regulated, I studied osteopathy before I started doing this, and even in that, like
Right.
that's completely regulated. Like
Right. True.
you join that association, you've got handcuffs on. And even then, you're gonna have great osteopaths and you're gonna have really sucky osteopaths. And it happens in the psychedelics world, big
Yeah,
time. A
for
lot
sure.
of people doing unsafe cuckoo stuff happens in the breathwork world. There's people out there that are like encouraging drug use and breath work. And I'm like, that is a liability, a
Yeah.
liability to say the least. Um, so I think, what I have to say is like the only thing that I can do is I come from a certain training. Obviously, I have the background of osteopathy. I really care about anatomy and physiology. With the being method, we just aim to create facilitators who are trauma informed. So, what that means is we just believe in consent. And I'm not going to yell at you for you to get your healing. I want it to come intrinsically. I want
Right.
you to push past your barriers. I'm not going to push past them for you because if I do it, you might not be ready. I
Right.
want you to have that experience. And if you need a break, you need a break. Like the point is for someone to start to listen to their own freaking body. I don't know what their body's saying. I need them to
Mhm.
listen. And nobody's taught that. When people come into our course, whether they're being certified or they're doing breath work and we encourage them to listen to their own body, everybody's like, what are you talking about?
I know.
And I'm
I
like,
know.
well, this is the point. Like, we have to learn this, especially if you're on
Mhm.
a healing journey. You can't just be listening to every healing guide out there, or else you would be only eating meat and then going vegan and then
Right.
doing this and then doing that. So there's all this medicine out there, and you have to tune into your own voice, into
Yeah.
your own body, and follow your path to healing. That might be joining a holotropic breathwork session and stopping after 5 minutes,
Right.
right? Like that's not wrong. If that's what
Right.
was that was the medicine for you. So
Right.
we're really encouraging of that. And then of course, the anatomy and the physiology. I love when I work with someone who knows why something is happening. My
Mhm.
nightmare is if someone has tetany and then someone goes, it's just energy. I'm like, it is. Yes, of course. But also, why don't we explain it to people? Because it's a really intense thing to happen. It happens in your face sometimes, like
Mhm.
that they can, they
Mhm.
look like stroke symptoms sometimes. So we just have to tell people, and it's so simple, right? You're changing the ratios of oxygen and CO2 in your body. That's going to change the pH of your blood ever so slightly. If we go down to what creates an action potential in the nerves, it needs a certain ratio of all of these molecules. And when you change all this stuff, the magnesium can't happen to relax the muscle. So it gets stuck, cramped up. It's actually not, it's not harmful. It can be uncomfortable, but it's not bad.
Mhm.
And if you don't like it, you're driving the ship. Just stop breathing like that for a bit.
Yeah. Yeah, so and can you describe the basic experience of tetanies if someone isn't familiar?
Yeah, if they've never tried this breakfast, basically your hands, your feet, or your face, those are the common places. They start to cramp up and get stuck, um, contracted.
Yeah.
All the muscles will just sort of contract,
Mhm.
and it is uncomfortable.
Well, and it's like it can be very vibrating, right? So I've also heard people like when they weren't informed, they like thought they were like having some sort of special powers and you know what I
Yes.
mean? Which you
Yeah.
could totally understand. It kind of feels like that. It's like, whoa, my hands and feet are like vibrating, like crazy. So yeah, thank you for explaining that. So if you go do breath work and your hands start curling up and your toes are kind of like locked in weird positions and your face is contorted a little bit, you're okay.
Yeah, it's
That's a normal thing and you're not dying and
no, it's
it's
very common. I mean, it's
yeah.
really you wouldn't everybody gets it.
Yeah,
Everybody.
I've every breathworks session I've ever had does. Okay. Okay, so trauma informed, creating safe space, letting people know about the anatomy and physiology, and then like or I'll throw this at you. So a client recently of mine who I recommended do breath work, and I usually am like, send me all the people in your area. Let me do a vibe check. You do a vibe check, and we'll kind of decide together. Because
Yeah. It's a
there's different teachers for different people, and
Mhm.
sometimes it's like, okay, I know this woman like has not even dabbled in spirituality. She's very like cut and dry, and then I don't really necessarily want like the hippiest of all hippie teacher. Maybe we need somebody a little more
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Different teachers for different people. But anyway, she found we found this place. It seemed great. She goes, and she doesn't have like a breakthrough. So I want to like hit on this because my a family member of mine also like the first two sessions, she's like, I don't know. I kind of felt some stuff, but not much. But then the third one, she's like, I think what is like supposed to happen like happened. I had a crazy experience. So can you talk about that? Is that common that
Yeah,
people
totally common. I mean, I think I probably wouldn't myself. I still to this day, the only person I've really like broken down in front of is my husband.
Mhm.
I feel safe with him. I know he can hold it. If I'm meeting some random person, we're having 15 minutes of chit chat and then they
Mhm.
expect me to bare my soul to them, it's probably not happening. I'm a Scorpio rising. You don't get to see my soul for 100 years. So there's nothing wrong with that. That actually makes sense to me, right? Like
Mhm.
it is a very vulnerable thing to do. I mean, that's why I kind of love the online
Mm.
breathwork world because I can put in headphones and do someone's breathwork in my bed and have a big experience and not worry about,
Mm.
do I feel safe with this person?
Right. Yeah.
But that's also to say maybe there's something really amazing about pushing past that to open up to someone you don't know that well. I'm not personally there yet. I hope to
Mhm.
be one day, but I'm not there yet. So I would just say, I hope it's not wrong because I wouldn't.
Yeah.
And I think that's a normal physiological nervous system response to me. We
Mhm.
want, especially women, we want to feel really safe where we're at.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, I appreciate you sharing that about the online stuff because I've always wondered, like I haven't done anything online. I've done them all in person, but I kind of always wondered, like, how is the online stuff? But that's a really great point you make. Even like one of the breath, I don't know if you know Pavel Stuchlik, he goes by Noah Aeon. He does breath work stuff, but he has like the headphones, like that you would use at like a silent disco kind of thing.
Hmm.
And something, it was really cool because like you're not worried about like if you're like letting out a big scream, no one can hear you, right? Because there's all this
Yeah.
music and it's their noise
Oh, cool. I
canceling.
love that. Is
And
that
so
9D? Did they
I
do that?
I
I
don't
don't know.
know, but yeah, Noah Aeon is what he goes by
Okay.
or whatever. He goes all over the world doing these things, and it's kind of like a combo of like Wim Hof with this kind of stuff, and he puts some ecstatic dance in there. He has
I
this
love
whole
that.
whole thing he does. It's really really good. But I appreciated that because I always joke that like when you're in a yoga class and they're like everybody scream, the scream goes like this. Ah! Because it's like you feel, except for like those two people that are like super pros, and
Yeah.
so there is an aspect of like the social, Like, oh, am I gonna cry in front of all these people? Am I gonna like I might, people laugh a lot, as I'm sure you know. And it's like, do
Yeah.
I feel comfortable like hysterically laughing in front of a group of like 20 other people in here?
Yeah. And
So
but I think like there's so much medicine there, even though it's
mhm.
uncomfortable. Like
Yeah.
I'm not gonna say that it's
Yeah.
better to do it on your own, but you just gotta go with where you're at.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, like my husband recently went to a big Joe Dispenza, and he's probably never cried in a group of people. He's a man. He's been told that,
Yeah.
don't do that your whole life. And he's in this retreat with like strangers he's never like just met, like group hugging, a group of people crying together, having a huge spiritual experience. And for him, like he needed that.
Yeah.
He needed to open up to people that like he didn't really know and know that
Yeah.
he was safe in like this group and like that's he's at that point of his healing journey. And
Mhm.
like I hope to go there one day
Mhm.
soon, or I hope to do a group breath work soon and have that.
Mhm.
um but I have two toddlers at home, so logistically
Yeah.
it will have to wait. but
Eventually.
but but you can just go with where there's no right or wrong.
Yeah.
Like everybody's nervous systems are different. We have different bodies. We come from different places. We have different cultural conditioning.
Mhm.
If you're having a different experience than someone else, that's okay. I always like to tell people if you just felt frustrated the whole time, that's an emotion.
Yeah.
That's an emotion. You
Yeah.
let it go. Good.
Yeah. Okay, well, that's a good segue to your book, because like, so why did you call the book How to Cry?
Everybody told me not to. Um, Yeah, I mean, I didn't cry for a really long time. I didn't cry for years and years and years and years and years. And that was the biggest gift that breathwork gave me, was to free myself from the emotions and tension and, you know, repetitive thinking that I had about who I was, my beliefs, my
Mhm.
frustrations, like all these things that I was just
Mhm.
like holding on to. And then, lo and below, well, you know this, as soon as I started working on that, boom, my IBS is gone. My
Mhm.
endometriosis hasn't relapsed. All my
Mhm.
chronic illness stuff is gone. I used to have POTS so bad that I could never stand up without like having to hold on to something because I thought I would pass out, and now it almost never happens. So um, everything has been so tied together for me. So that's just why the book is called How to
Mhm.
Cry, just because it's
Mhm.
good for you.
And so in the book, I'm sure you share some of your story and how you got here, but like what's the meat and potatoes of the book?
The meat and potatoes is, I mean, mostly just the research. Like it's nonfiction. There's my stories kind of sprinkled in there, but it's mostly just looking at like, why aren't we taking this more seriously?
Mhm.
Almost a manifesto in that
Mm.
our culture is completely opposite to what is healthiest and best for human beings. And it not even just, going further beyond health and wellness. If you want to have intimacy with another human being,
Mhm.
you have to learn how to feel your emotions and hold space
Mhm.
for theirs. That is the bread and
Mhm.
butter, to use
Yep.
another food analogy,
Yep.
of a good intimate relationship. And a lot of
Mhm.
us don't have that. We are struggling.
Mhm.
We have the male loneliness epidemic and men committing suicide at shocking rates because they feel lonely, because they're not taught that it's okay to feel your emotions. So they can't
Mhm.
connect with each other. They can't connect with women, like the a magical healing frequency of women. And it's a shame. Like, I just feel like so many, when I look around, so many of the negative things that are happening on the planet could stem from someone somewhere just having a little bit more of emotional awareness, emotionality, being vulnerable, feeling okay, to just open up and talk about what's going on and
Mhm.
how healing that is for yourself and the other person.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. You're making me think. I had this one experience where I had gotten a lot of healing over a really, really traumatic, like narcissistic type relationship, right? And I'd gotten really far, but I was at this workshop, if you will, healing weekend thing, and they had punching bags. And basically, they got this kid to like, his dad was abusive, and he ends up like, finally getting there and just having this huge release and like collapsing to the floor crying. I was like, oh my gosh. And I was so inspired by him. I was like, I haven't done that. I haven't done that. I haven't like screamed every profanity and like released all this anger. And it's like there's some really appropriate anger. You know, the guy admitted to manipulating me and using for me for every penny I had, and using psychedelics to manipulate me publicly, right? So it was bad. I lost everything. I was homeless, didn't have a penny to my name. My self-esteem was zero. So it was a lot, right? And I'm like I haven't released anger yet. So speaking of, I was invited there professionally too by a colleague, and possibly of like leading this thing eventually, which I knew I wasn't going to. So it was a kind of a lot at stake socially. I had like several colleagues there and stuff, but I was like, I don't care. I'm gonna get my healing. And I had this, female partner, just beautiful soul. And I just let it rip, let it rip. I mean, every profanity, I'm screaming at the top of my lungs. I'm hitting this bag as hard as I can. I'm crying. And the level of nervous system reset, the best way I can put it, that I experienced, it was like for 3 days, I felt like it wasn't that I couldn't talk, it's that I didn't want to. I didn't feel any need to. I was just so calm and with myself and just not in this go 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 go, like I was just so centered. And every healing thing I've done like that, like it's maybe sobering is the right word. I end up in this place where I'm like way more connected to myself and calm. And in that's truly the only way you can really have intimacy with others. Otherwise everything's like top down, it's all in your head. It's like, but when you're in that sobered,
Mhm.
centered space, now you can like have a nervous system connection with other people. It doesn't have to be so talk, talk, talk or do, do, do. Right. And so I appreciate you validating the through because you got to meet people where they're at, right? And everybody wants like proof, which makes sense. We all want proof. But what you're doing with that, the ripple effect, like if people latch on and apply that in their lives, is healing relationships, the most immediate relationships, family relationships. And when that starts happening, like a lot of goodness comes in the world, right? So
Yes.
yeah.
I'm sorry that happened to you.
Oh, thanks.
God, that made me so angry. I'm gonna go punch some pillows after this. Um, but and I love what you're saying. One of my favorite quotes, there's a philosopher, contemporary, Alain de Botton, and he says, if you want to heal the world, go home and heal your family. Go home and love your family.
Nice.
And it piggybacks off the Ram Dass quote, which we all know that everybody's spiritual until they go home for
Yeah.
supper. And it is like that's the final boss. Like that's the hardest stuff. And I'm not saying that if your parents are terrible, you have to have a beautiful relationship with them in order to heal the world. That's not what I'm
Hmm.
saying. But m my mission on this planet is that I don't want a little kid to experience what I experienced. And like I found out after my dad died, maybe a decade after he died, that my dad experienced sexual abuse too. And it broke me because I was like, oh, like he made so many bad choices, but he also, grew up in a time he played rugby. He was a guy's guy. Like, did he ever even talk to anyone about it? Probably not.
No.
And that's like, oh,
Hmm. Hmm.
and now here I am, like I'm having, the same experience, choosing a different path with it. And this happens all over all the time. The
Yep.
numbers are
Yep.
wild, right? And it's not even just sexual abuse, just anything.
Hmm.
And I want if I just want the whole world to group hug. Like
Yeah.
I really do. And you get to a point, I think once you've been through enough in life, you get to a point where you're like, I cannot picture myself doing anything on this planet besides helping people.
Hmm.
That's it. Like
Hmm.
that's the only thing I want to do, and that's my whole mission. And I love breathwork. I've never met a breathwork facilitator who was who had ill intentions. Maybe some
Right.
people who didn't know anatomy and physiology, but
Yeah.
like people genuinely just want people to heal,
Yeah.
and I love that. I think I'm very hopeful for the future. I'm such a humanist. I think when you get to the root, the core of everybody,
Yep.
they've got a good heart. You just
Yep.
kind of got to get past all that BS.
Hmm.
And that's what I want. I want people to open up, crack it
Hmm.
open. Let's see your
Hmm.
heart. I want to
Yep.
see what's going on in there. I think anybody can heal, even if they were the worst of the worst. My husband used to be a homeless heroin addict, and now
Mm,
he's like the most dedicated, amazing husband, father
mm,
I've ever seen. So I think anybody can change, anybody can
yeah.
heal. And the more we do it ourselves, the more we do it in connection with our friends and family, our communities, the more it ripples outwards.
Hmm. Yeah. That heart protection, like before I had done any sort of healing, right? I didn't realize like it did just feel like I didn't have the capacity to love fully or in the way that I do now, right? Like it was just so taskmaster. Like love is an action, like you just do the things and and I see that, when you talk about how this is happening everywhere, like my kids are older, I had my kids pretty young, decently young, and like having a 19-year-old and a 17-year-old and tomorrow I'll have a 15-year-old and um the state of families currently, and we live in like a nice area and stuff, but like it's not good what's happening in families all over the place. Like we're not really doing great. We maybe think we are because of all the cognitive knowing versus the embodied, but it's like very abusive, very cruel, mean, like disconnection with teenagers. Like teenagers are just kids, they just
Mm.
got a little bit bigger bodies. They're wise and they're smart and they're insightful, but they are like, do you love me? Like I'm not
Yeah,
feeling
no, people forget. They
loved.
just want love. They want love.
Yeah.
And they're
And
going
they're
to test you.
yeah, but it's just like, and they honestly though, like I don't feel like my teenagers test me beyond maybe testing to see if I'm like here and present with them,
Mhm.
right? Like if you're connecting on a heart level and they can feel that you care and that you respect them and you're thinking about them in your own time and what they need and like you're listening to what they have to say and it's like a good rapport, like I feel like the heart healing I've experienced, it's made parenting like so much easier. It was so much harder when it was like this top down like dictatorship of like I'm in charge of them and I have to teach them everything and blah blah blah. Blah. That was hell. That was horrible. Now we have actual real relationships because it's because of me, not any they didn't do anything. They've been there all along, but my heart healing, that openness of being able to drop in like on a nervous system level with them just makes everything so easy. And I see that in the parents, just hearing the stories of like, for example, my daughter's friend is trans, but her parents are heavily religious and they're like, if you want to go to college, we're only paying for this religious college. So they're going to a religious college as a trans person. It's just so mean. It's so cruel. I'm like, gosh, it's just like this very like a conditional love, control. And I feel for those parents because I just know that there's so much heart protection in them. And what we're talking about, this breath work is like hands down the most powerful tool. I'm talking over, I've had amazing coaches. I've had amazing therapists. I've done a lot of psychedelics. Have read 50 bajillion books. I've done courses. I've done in-person experiences. Like we both had a lot of trauma. A lot of trauma. You do a lot. You get desperate when you hit your bottom, right? But so I've done a lot of that. But I will say, like, breath work, this healing breath work is the most powerful tool for healing that I have come across.
Me too. Thank you for saying that.
Yeah.
And oh God, you pulled at my heartstrings there with the families and the kids. And yeah, I feel it too. It's a stigma. We forget that children are people.
Right.
Like there's so many things that are normalized to say to a kid, to do to a
Hmm.
kid
Hmm.
that you would never do to a neighbor or a
Hmm.
coworker. In fact, you might be arrested.
Right.
You would be fined.
Right.
And that's not okay. Right. I always say, when someone around me is arguing for a certain thing, I'm like, okay, your grandmother, let's say you had the best relationship ever with her. She's 98 and she goes into a home. That home starts doing XYZ that you do to your kid, but to your grandmother. Are you cool with that? Like in a time where she needs help? She, can't do things herself. She might be crying for help. She might not be able to go to the bathroom by herself, whatever it is, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that's a good thought experiment for people is like,
Mm-hmm.
would you be okay with it?
Yeah,
Because a
I
lot
think
of
we
times
would
we
call it
wouldn't.
elderly abuse.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, it still happens to elderly for sure.
But
But
we're not calling that with kids. It's normalized to be
oh, it's
like, "Are you
totally
freaking
normal.
kidding me? I told you to blah, blah, blah," like all this energy like that, you know? It's
Yeah.
normalized
Yeah.
and
But it's
it's
also,
crushing.
I gotta have um compassion for the parent. Because like I think if you take most parents out of their stressful situation
Mhm.
and you put them somewhere where they do have no other stress and you tell them like go be with your kid, a lot of them would be able to in a really beautiful way. But then you've got a bunch of people who, again, don't know when they're redlining with their nervous system. They
Yeah,
don't have
right.
that um they don't understand what's going on with their own body. They don't
Mm,
understand the emotions they're suppression they're holding on to.
right.
And all of a sudden they're I have two toddlers and a puppy at home. So for me, like, oh, I'm there and it's already 8 a.m.
Right.
Um, so I get it. I'm not a perfect parent.
Yeah, yeah, I'm not saying I've never
No, no,
lost
no,
my
I know,
crap,
I know,
like, I
I
have a
know,
million times, but yeah.
but it's just like brings home the type of parenting you're going to do on the forefront is what was done to you. That's
Yeah,
like the first thing that comes
right.
to my mind. I'm a newer parent. My eldest is only 4. So that's what comes to my mind first is what was done to me. And then I have
Mhm.
to have
Right,
enough
right.
regulation to say I'm not going to do that because when someone did that to me it sucked.
Mhm,
I'm going to do this instead. But if you don't have the regulation, what's going to happen
mhm,
is what was done to you is you're just going to do it to them. And that's
mhm,
how we have generational kind of abuse and trauma handed
mhm.
down. And
Right.
that what stops it is not reading a book on generational trauma. That's not what stops it. What stops it is when you can take a deep breath and
Mhm,
make a different choice.
mhm,
But it happens at the worst time, right? Like
mhm.
everybody's amazing at a marriage when they're not married. They
Yeah,
think you think I'm good, I'm so healed.
right.
And then you put me in a marriage and I'm like, I will kill
Yeah,
him.
yeah.
So it's like it's hard. It is the stuff that's like in the moment. Like you gotta
Mhm.
have the tools for
Yep.
the moment.
Yeah.
And it's powerful, but that's the change.
Yeah. I always say change. I tell my clients all the time, I'm like, us sitting here talking about this stuff right now is not doing anything. We're not changing right now. We're just talking about it. Change happens in the moment, that moment when you almost go into an old unhealthy pattern and and you're not going to catch yourself a bunch of times. You're going to go into it a bunch of times and that's okay. But like those moments where you do catch it and you choose a new way, you're forging a new neural network right there. You're forging a new habit. You're forging a new automatic reaction. And every time you do that, it's a little closer to that now happening on autopilot. And so it has to happen in the moment. Everything else is just thinking about actually changing. So I appreciate you highlighting that. And then, yeah, I always say like the best parents in the world are people without kids.
It's so true.
and
The things
and
that I thought before I had kids are hilarious. I used to see a kid crying in the don't hate me for saying this, anybody listening. I have since changed my tune, but I used to see like a toddler having a breakdown, being like, "Oh, I wish that parent just knew breath work."
yeah,
And
yeah,
I'm like, LOL, that parent does know breath work. They're probably just doing it beside the crying toddler because that's how children develop.
are
They
right.
develop appropriately. They
Yes,
are meant to have
yes.
full emotional explosions, and that's what they do.
Yeah. And I mean, man, it's been such a journey. I used to be so controlling. Like, there's so much still I'm having to work through with my kids. So I'm like, man, I just try to be as real with them as possible. I'm like, listen, like, if you feel like you're not allowed to feel differently than an authority figure, that's probably for me and dad. So, like, let's talk about it. Like, we're trying to, like,
Oh, that's
undo
good.
so much of that because it was just that quintessential, like, this is how you be a parent. You teach them that's bad to be like that and it's good to be like that. And then, of
Yeah.
course, all this dysregulation of, any of your uncomfortable emotions for me are not okay. So I'm going to try to brute force you or shame you or, withdraw from you or, put you somewhere else
Yeah.
because it's
Yeah.
inconvenient to me.
Yeah.
And
And the healing happens. My mom used to send me to my room if I cried. And I wasn't allowed to cry when we left the house or on vacation, or else I ruined the vacation or you know what I mean? Like that. It was not okay to be upset.
Yep. I used to do that to my kids. Sucks. But
It does. Yeah. And it's interesting now my mom comes to my house and like our mantra is it's okay to cry, let it out and we'll talk about it after. Like do your thing.
yeah.
And my mom's just watching being like, this is so interesting. But she, we're pretty open about it. We can joke about the way that she
Hmm.
parented before. And she's like, this is so different, but it's so much nicer. And I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. We're really fortunate, like our parents didn't have access to what we have access
No.
to. So it's like honoring the internet, which came out when I was a teenager, honoring the fact that we have access to so much more now. And
Yeah. Or started caring about studying kids' mental health, mothers, women
mhm.
in general.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like our science has gotten better as we've had more, I would say, as we've had more women kind of take that career path, we've had more people interested in like what's going on with female bodies, what's going
Yeah.
on with children, right? Like
Right.
we've had still to this day, we've had more studies done on male baldness than
Mm.
PCOS and endometriosis. So,
That's a nice stat. Oh. Yeah, yeah, we have so much more accessible, and I think it is important to kinda highlight that. I do often it's not to invalidate our own experience of pain and all of that, but I find 2 things happen a lot on a healing journey. One is trying to protect the parent too much, right? Like, of like, "Well, they just tried the best they could, and they were wounded too, blah, blah, blah," but, like, there's an invalidation of self that happens there.
mhm.
Or there's, like, the other way of, like, just really kinda hating them, which might
They
be an
ruined my
important part.
life. Yeah.
Yeah, and it might be a really
I
important
I
part of your
listened to a
process.
podcast one time and the woman was like, "If you're over 30 and you still think your parents ruined your life, you're an idiot." I was like, "Oh my God." Okay,
Hey,
rough, but
we're all
also
on our
kind of true.
journeys, where some of us wake
Um,
up later than others, but yeah,
that
I
ties
mean.
back really well to the book though, right? Because,
Mhm.
if you're trying to heal a mother wound, father wound, whatever it is, you have to go into the pain.
Yep,
You have to. You have to go into the pain that person caused you and actually feel it. If
yep.
you skip past that and just go to, they were doing the best they could, you
Right.
actually are protecting the wound.
Mhm,
And
mhm.
it's hard, right? Because we don't
Yeah,
want to go into the pain because what you have to look at is that the person who was meant to love you unconditionally maybe didn't. They didn't
right.
show you the love. And this is why spirituality is so important because you start to realize that, like, my mother is Mother Earth.
Mhm,
That's the energy.
mhm,
And like my father, for me, use the word God or the universe, whatever you want to,
mhm,
that's your father. These
mhm,
people are just representations of that, really doing the best that they can, but mostly
mhm.
messing up.
Yeah,
um, and I love that because when you go into the pain, you let it go
right.
because you feel it. And then finally you're like, yeah, it
Mhm,
sucked. And like,
mhm,
here I am now, and here they are now. And like, I my husband's really big in AA, and there's a woman in there who her own father, who was an addict, sold her at 15 into trafficking.
mm.
They are best friends now.
Wow.
They go to AA almost every day together. They're both sober. They have an actual beautiful relationship. And I've heard her
Whoa.
talk about healing and just being like, I didn't skip over
Mm,
how angry I was about it or how much of a bad dad he is. But right now, today, he's trying. And like that's who I can have the relationship with. And it was such a beautiful story
wow.
of forgiveness. And again, I'm not saying anybody needs to forgive
Mhm,
anybody. I did
right.
I think you got to make the decision you need to make to have the peace in your life. Her dad obviously made a lot of changes to his life.
Mhm,
But yeah, you do have to go into the pain.
mhm. Yeah, I think one of my favorite medicines besides breathwork, which breathwork does do this, is validation. And you kind of hit on this in the beginning of like anytime I'm feeling like over super highly stressed or overwhelmed or like I'm drowning or, like, oh my gosh, this is all so much at once. Like I will just validate myself so much. Like, yeah, this is so much. Holy crap. Like, this is so much. And like giving myself that validation. And, if I need to cry or if I need to just like let out like a guttural sound or just like freaking A, this is so much, and like being like, yeah, it is, dude. And usually what comes in after that is like this feeling of like, you're doing a hell of a job, actually. Like, and just like that really validating self support it just brings me out of it. It's like, I don't know, I can see more clearly after just feeling, allowing myself to feel what's already, it's already there, but I'm trying to avoid it, you know?
I think we have a really good study on that. I can't remember the stat, but simply naming an emotion
Mhm. Mhm.
reduces
Mhm.
you feeling it. And
Mhm.
it's like, again, it's so counterculture.
Right.
Like almost everybody doesn't want to go there. They just want to be like, oh, I'm fine.
Well, and I think a lot of it, in my opinion, from what I've observed, roots in the inconvenience of quote unquote negative emotions by parents with their kids, you
Yes,
know, all the
100%.
way to physically abusing them quite often, actually,
Hmm.
for, if they're feeling angry or, overwhelmingly sad and that's inconvenient to the parent, they usually will resort to shame, abuse,
Oh,
screaming,
it's
fear.
insane. It, yeah. A dad just killed his 6-year-old son on a treadmill. And there's videos of it. Don't look it up.
I
But
won't.
he's forcing this kid to run. And he's
Oh.
trying to hyper, discipline him. And you go to the comments and like all these dads are like, I knew what he was trying to do, but accidents happen. And I'm like, what did a 6-year-old boy
Oh.
do to deserve that beyond just what 6-year-old boys are just designed to
Right.
do? Like kids are designed to find the boundaries of things, find the boundaries of people. I mean, my kids do test me like they want to know. My son is 2. So his form of testing right now is he'll hit me. He
Mm.
hits me. And
Mm.
that's his way of saying like, am I safe with you?
Mm.
What are you going to do in this moment? And he gets the
Mm.
same reaction always. I say like, baby, we do not hit in this household.
Mhm.
And it's just it's such a simple fix.
Right.
That's the frustrating part. It's such a simple fix. That man who, has to live with that for the rest of his life, whether it was an accident or not, who knows? I didn't watch the whole video, but that man has to live with that for the rest of his life. He broke his legacy and he murdered his own kid because I'm guessing he couldn't deal with someone, and I'm putting in quotes, disrespecting him, or he couldn't fathom feeling a certain emotion,
Yeah.
right? So because he wouldn't feel that, he's going to act violently.
Mhm.
And, if you have people who are good at processing anger, good at processing shame, whatever they're uncomfortable with, guilt, they're not going to be violent to other people.
Mhm. Mhm.
They're going to go to a weekend course and punch a punching
Mhm.
bag because that's
Yeah.
healthy, right? Like that's how
Yeah.
we teach toddlers not to hit. You say, if you feel like hitting, it's okay. Hit this pillow.
Mhm.
It's okay to be angry. You just can't hurt other people. Imagine if everybody learned that from the
Right.
age of 2.
Right.
It would be a completely different world. Like the stat on women pregnant, right? What's the number one cause of death for pregnant women?
Abuse, right? Domestic abuse.
Their partners.
Mhm.
That is insane.
Yeah.
And again, it just goes back to like, well, why is this happening, right? Like why do people make those choices? Like they're not evil. I mean, we
Right.
obviously have the small population of psychopaths,
Right.
but most people are just making decisions based off of what happened to them before. They haven't
Yeah.
learned any differently. They don't know
Yeah.
how to deal with their anger.
Mhm. Yeah. And what I'm hearing in you with the story of your son hitting you is through the healing that you've experienced, you created safety in yourself, which then doesn't make everyone a threat to you all the time. That was the difference for me. It's like when I wasn't safe within myself and centered here, everybody else, I always thought my kids were disrespecting me. And I
Hmm.
and I was so validated. It was like, well, I am not gonna let them disrespect. They weren't disrespecting me like 99% of those times. They were just being kids. Like them leaving their shoes in the doorway is not disrespecting me just because I've asked them not to. It's because they're kids and they don't personally care about that at all. Like they could give two shits if the shoes are in the doorway. And so they're having to sit there and remember like the mom cares about that. They're just forgetting. They also
Yeah.
aren't fully cognitively developed yet. But I'm sitting here like they're doing it to me,
No, it's
right?
real. It's
Like they're a
hard. I
threat
like a
to me.
tidy house. I get it. My
Yeah.
mantra is this is their house too. I have to
But
say that to myself all the time. This is their house too.
right. But it helps me when I'm safe within myself and I can, because this is what I'm hearing with your son. You're able to have empathy for him. You the way you describe that is, oh, he's checking to see if he's safe with me. That requires a lot of empathy to even think that way,
Yeah.
right? And when you're not
Yeah.
having empathy for yourself and going through these processes yourself, it's harder to get there. And so you get
Yeah.
stuck in these patterns of they're doing this to me and they're being bad and they shouldn't,
Yeah.
and blah,
Yeah.
because
This
you
is
don't
this
have it
is the
within.
this is the beauty of a regulated nervous system is you get to zoom out.
Yeah.
So when you're dysregulated, your thinking is me versus them,
Yep.
victim, scarcity.
Right.
When you regulate your nervous system, you start to think abundance, oneness, all these
Mhm.
different things. When my husband and I get into it and we're starting to like, I can see we're gonna like
Mhm.
battle. I'm always like, okay, let's take a break until we can zoom out.
Yeah.
Let's
Yeah.
look at this problem not from
Right.
we're going to war to
Right.
like let's let's be
Mhm.
us again, like us versus the
Right.
problem. But you can't do that if you're in a certain nervous system state. You gotta kind of
Mhm.
back up and be like, okay, I'm not grounded. I need to get back centered,
Mhm.
get back into like kind of a more love vibration, and then I
Mhm.
can come back to you. And it's a
Mhm.
totally different way to meet someone. You can
Mhm.
hear them.
Yep.
You're not trying to fight over
Right.
the tiniest little thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a totally different way of meeting someone, but that's
Mhm.
the inner job.
Yeah. And what's the best biohack, if you will, to getting into a more regulated state?
Breathwork. Yeah, it is.
Breath.
I mean, it is amazing, right? Like it's not. And you honestly, if you're listening and you're like, I don't know, I live in a small town, like I don't know if there's going to be the whatever.
Mhm.
There probably is. Breathwork is getting huge. Like
Yep.
I have a student who lives in a small town. She started teaching breathwork. Her classes at a yoga studio are sold out. She had to go to 2 classes a week. Like it is getting really big. It's set to be an
Mhm.
$11 trillion industry
Wow.
in the next few years. Like it's
Oh my gosh.
massively exploding. Like
Wow.
it's going to be crazy.
Wow.
But it's not always going somewhere and having that big breathwork
Mhm.
experience. Like just practice, set a timer for 5 minutes and breathe slowly and
Yeah.
watch what happens. Like it's
Or do like a
crazy.
simple box breath, like
Yeah.
for I've been doing those
Yeah.
in my because I just moved from Hawaii to Utah about a month ago. And it's just been a lot. School's getting ready to start. We're just
Yeah.
so much still running my business.
Moving is so stressful.
Big business, like planning huge thing. It's just a lot, right? And so like I've just felt that added need to add the box breathing to my meditations because I've just noticed I'm pinging too much. Like maybe I should
Hmm.
stop and but like usually not there, right? It's like, oh, but you got to do that thing before you forget, and I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, in for four, hold for four, out for four, hold for, and it
Yeah.
just does the trick every time.
Yeah. It's like you can interlace it into your entire life.
Yeah.
Like it's great. I practice my breath holds all the time. They change my life.
Mm, mm.
It's
On
just,
the exhale or both.
yes, on the
Yeah,
exhale.
yeah. Okay.
Inhale too, but
Yeah.
I'm still at the exhale.
Mhm.
If anybody's were like, what is that? There's a really amazing book by Patrick McEwen, and it's called The Oxygen Advantage. It goes into the
Mm,
physiology, but I'm telling you, breath holds are insane.
I need to
And
work
it's
on
it's
mine.
also wild what it does to your body, like just wild. Um,
And James Nestor hits on that too in breath.
yes, yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, definitely,
Yeah.
yeah. It's almost. I'm here to tell you not to breathe. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's a cool world, breathwork world. There's something for everybody.
Yeah.
Like even if you wanted to just geek out on nasal breathing versus mouth breathing, like that's so
Yeah.
cool. But there's
Mhm.
something for everybody, and it's
Yeah.
it's it's amazing.
Okay, so first of all, thank you so much. This has been so fun. I could talk to you for like hours. But so if they go to being method, being method.ca,
Mhm.
what are they gonna find there?
Okay, we've got a subscription. We just moved over and created an app. So if you
Okay.
click subscription, that's going to take you to our app. There's free stuff there. So you can just sign up. We've got free recorded breathworks. Our most popular breathwork ever is totally free there. It's called emotional clearing,
Nice.
right? It's only 20 minutes long.
Cool.
We get DMs and emails about it all the time. Like literally,
Oh,
I'm like, I've stopped saving them because I'm like, I know.
yeah. Cool.
And then there's also a subscription to like a deeper breathwork library. We've got many
Mm,
courses coming out, like how to manifest
cool.
with breathwork, how to heal your body with breathwork, all these different things. And then
Mm,
obviously on the app too, you can be certified. That's our bread and butter. We certify people to teach and facilitate breathwork. It's kind of at your own pace. We've also got business coaches if you want that flavor of just like, I
hmm.
really want to make this into a business.
Yeah, that's a whole nother thing we didn't hit on with you, but you've really, changed careers and built this whole thing and you teach others to do the same. So yeah, that is
Yeah, yeah, I love it. I love breath work. I just want people out there doing breath
Mhm.
work with great facilitators. We've got hundreds and hundreds of facilitators out there. I'm working on making a directory of everybody. I've never done that.
Mm,
And yeah, I just, the ripple effect, right? I just want,
mhm.
like, if they're working with a certain number of people a month and that's a certain number of people a month healing, like, I love it.
Right.
That's what, like, gets me up and doing
Totally.
annoying business stuff every day.
Yeah.
It's not money. It's definitely the idea of people healing.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And then you share a lot of great content on social media. So I think you had like, when I checked, like 110,000 followers, just so you guys know. So you might want to follow her on Instagram. And is it just being method? What?
Being method breathwork. I think that's the same on TikTok too.
Okay.
I've got my podcast, The Being Method. We've got tons of good people on there talking about science of spirituality, from
Mm,
neuroscientists to feminine energy coaches, like everybody in between, some really good stuff.
cool.
Really cool people.
Okay. Awesome. And then, of course, your book, How to Cry, which is on Amazon. So we'll link that up. And yeah, awesome. Thanks for doing all the work
Thank you
because
for
you're
having
right. The ripple
me.
effect is so important. So I
Yeah, you
appreciate you
too.
doing that and for coming and sharing with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for joining me on this episode of the Inside Out Health Podcast. I hope it's been helpful to you in your journey. If you think that it might be helpful to someone you know, please share it with them. Please share on social media. It really helps me grow the show and reach more people with these amazing messages. And if you could be so kind as to rate the show and possibly even leave me a review, that really helps. So much thanks in advance if you do that. And yeah, please subscribe if you want to hear more of this type of content. I have lots of amazing expert guests on the way. All right. Thank you.